There is a great deal of misunderstanding when it comes to the concept of ego. What exactly is ego? To operate in this world efficiently, to have meaningful interaction with other people, we need concepts. And without concepts, interpersonal communication cannot happen. Therefore, concepts are essential for daily living. The only thing is that a concept is just a concept. It is not a reality, it is not the truth. Therefore, ego is also a concept which helps with interpersonal communication. I remember during my college days when I was studying engineering, we were taught a concept, and the concept was to transmit a wave from one end to another end. A wave like a signal, let's say a music, which is coded into a waveform. To transmit it from one end of the country to another end, it needs a carrier. And as far as I remember, it was called amplitude modulator. So it's like the small signal piggybacks on the big signal and is carried from one end to another end, where it is again left down, brought down. It's like a child. You piggyback the child from one end of the location to another end and then drop him or her down. So, a thought also requires a carrier in order to be communicated. And the carrier is ego. So, at the root of every thought is the ego. But make no mistake, that is only a concept, because in reality there is no ego doing anything. The thought and the sense of separate self, which we call as the ego, they are one and the same. And they are all made up of one substance. There is no separation. But just to explain the concept, we divide it into two parts. We divide a thought and then we create a modulator for it, which we call as the ego. So to have good interpersonal communication, one does require ego. Because without ego, functioning is not possible. Say, for example, if you're hungry, it is a thought in your mind which tells you to eat food, otherwise you will fall sick. If you have a conflict at workplace, it is the thought in the mind that tells you to deal with the conflict. Right? So action requires that kind of thinking. And that is the ego, but that's not the problem ego. That's the functional, preservative, restorative ego, which all human beings have, including the sages, including sages like Ramana Maharishi. Everybody has that ego. That's not the problem ego. The problem ego is the one that says, "How dare you?" The problem is the ego is the one that says, "Do you know who I am?" The problem ego is the one that wants to get revenge. The problem ego is the one that identifies with the energy of hatred, resentment, malice, spite, vengefulness. The one that moves in time, the one that is identified with an imaginary future, or one that lingers in the dead past. The ego is the one that operates constantly in fear. That ego is the problematic ego, It's like a wave in the ocean. But here's the thing, the wave may grow as big as it wants to. It may keep increasing its amplitude, but ultimately the destination of the wave is to merge with the ocean. The ocean is consciousness. Without consciousness, there is no thought. There can be no thought. So, for this beautiful play of life that we see in our daily living, whether we call it pleasant or we call it unpleasant, it does not matter. That play of life is facilitated by the ego. But ego is only a concept. The ego is the one that is identified with thinking. Thinking that says, I want the preferred outcome. I want to achieve this. I want to become that. I want to unbecome that. I love this. I hate that. The ego mind is the one that creates fragmentations, that creates divisions. The divisions that breed conflict, chaos, and confusion. But at the level of the ocean of pure consciousness, there is only unconditional love. Your very existence is that ocean. It is vast, infinite, eternal. It is bliss. Bliss that is not limited to a feeling, but bliss that is not limiting to anything. The unlimited, which includes everything, which includes chaos and conflict as well. So the problem ego is the one that wants to assert itself as right and prove the other as wrong. That is the ego that lives in suffering, that lives in chaos. The one that surrenders to the present moment simply becomes the presence, which is unconditional love. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let there be peace, peace, peace. Wish you all a very nice day.